Your camera is not the most important part of getting a good looking shot for your YouTube video or your Twitch stream. Lighting plays a much larger part in sculpting the way you look on camera. So I'm gonna show you my 5 favorite styles of lighting and how to set up the lights so you can get this same look in your own space. Super important, by the way, before we get started, I do want to thank Elgato for sponsoring this video. And while these ideas and everything will work with any lighting that you choose, or at least any decent lighting that you choose, I'm going to be using Elgato's key light lineup, namely the key light Air and the ring light, which combined with the original key light makes up their entire lineup of lights. These are the lights that I use in my own personal content, not just because of the high-end build quality, the multi-layer diffusion built into it, or the high-quality lighting, but more important to me is the convenience factor. The fact that I can change the brightness or the warmth and the tone of the light from my computer, my phone, or even my Stream Deck itself. The ability to be able to adjust the lighting while you're sitting in your chair and make sure it looks good is just a game changer to me. So if you'd like to pick one up, link in the description below. Also, if you have any extra questions about lighting or how any of this stuff works, and maybe I missed something, feel free to jump into my Twitch stream. Links, as always, in the description down below, and come hang out. Let's talk. Cool. What do you say we start with the classic content creator light setup? Let's go. This lighting setup is probably the most popular with content creators because it's simple and easy to set up, and it just kind of makes sense for someone who doesn't really understand lighting. The concept is very simple. You have 2 lights, both of them on either side of the camera, equal distance apart, equal height, equal brightness. That way you get a fully balanced light across your face. You are well lit to the camera no matter which way you look. It's a solid shot. There's nothing to be ashamed of if you use this lighting setup. In fact, it's usually the most commonly advertised lighting setup when you go to look at premium lights like Elgato's. Same goes for the ring light strategy, by the way. The ring light, same general idea, a little bit more stylized. You have a single ring that goes around the light, thus completely evenly lighting your face from every direction, similar to the previous setup with the 2 lights. However, because the light is so close to the camera itself, you get those little ring light reflections in your eyes, which a lot of people really tend to like. Because all the light is directly in front of you rather than 2 lights on each side lighting you up, the front of your face is often more lit than the sides and the rear, and you get a slow progressing shadow as you go back further. This kind of lighting works really well and is super popular in makeup tutorials because your face is so smooth, and because all the light's coming from directly at the front, there's no contour on your face from the lighting, so you can add contour with makeup and really show that off and highlight it. But the problem I have with this lighting setup and the previous one, and this is really just personal opinion here, is they're kind of boring. The advantage to lighting your face evenly from a ring light or from 2 evenly placed lights is that you end up getting rid of all the shadow, which sounds to a beginning content creator like the ideal lighting situation. However, shadows add contour to your face. They add depth to your face. Let's switch to a little bit more of an artistic lighting setup. And by the way, this ring light one is the only setup I have with a single light. The rest will have 2 or sometimes even 3 lights. If you want a whole video on how to set up single lighting setups, Sam did a fantastic one on his channel. Link in the description below. He gives you a handful of really great lighting ideas to not only use a single light, but also like a $10 reflector if you want to get super artsy with it. I recommend it highly, but let's move on to a really cool lighting setup. This is a much more dramatic lighting effect. The shadows next to my nose, the brightness on one side of my face compared to the darkness on the other, they give my face, like I mentioned before, they give it depth. You can see my features, you can see the length of my nose, you can see the prominence of my cheekbones or my jawline. The shadows are a huge part of what our brain processes to understand the contour of something we're looking at. And the way this is set up is super simple. The key light, which by the way is a real term, it's not just Elgato's term, they don't own that. The key light is the one in front of your face, your main light. It's called your key light. It's set up in the exact same place that I had it set up during the classic content creator setup. A little bit offset to the side, a little bit offset up. That way my shadow goes over and down a little bit. And then off to the side over here, I actually have my ring light set up, and I use the ring light for the side one because it's larger. So it's gonna be a little bit more diffused just to fill in a little bit of light on the side. I actually have it set at the lowest brightness possible at 3%, but you can see what happens when I turn it off, which is actually also really cool. Now it's even more dramatic, but when I fill it back in at 3%, you can just see that it takes those super black spots and makes them just dark spots instead. If you're looking to get a little bit more artistic, photographer style lighting on your stream or in your YouTube videos, this might be a great place to start. However, let's talk about one that's even a little bit more dramatic. And by the way, this next one is the one that I use on my stream. I made a detailed change to this one. I'm curious if you can tell what it was. You can probably tell that something's different. What I did was I took this very soft and diffused side light and I moved it up behind me and to the corner farther away and made it a little bit more of a spotlight light, something much more directional coming from behind me. So instead of lighting up the whole side of my face, you get a little bit more shadowing going on from this light. And then this rear light just gives you a little bit of an edge highlight. And this change has an effect that's fairly subtle, but also very rewarding. You can see on my live stream setup right here, it may not look like the rear light is doing much until I turn it off. Once I turn off the edge light, that side of my face that isn't super well lit, the opposite side of my main light kind of blends in with the background behind me because it's dark and it's shadowy. It's when I turn it back on that you can see how much it separates me from my background. Whenever you have a two light setup similar to this one, where you have a main key light lighting your face and then either a fill light off to the side or an edge light behind you, you can always adjust how shadowy and how artistic and dramatic your face is by moving this key light closer to the camera or further from the camera. The further from the camera it is, the more shadows you're gonna have, the more dramatic it's gonna be. So, you know, toy around with that. See what you like, find your angle. But not only that, toy around with different levels and brightnesses of edge lights back here. Edge lights are super popular. Oftentimes you even put them on screen, like in the music video that we released. By the way, Stream Beats Originals has launched a single releasing a full album of rock in February. If you're not using Stream Beats, it's copyright-free music for your live streams and your YouTube videos. Links to those in the description down below. But you can see in this video, we actually used the edge light as a dramatic lighting prop on screen, on the footage. It ends up adding a really cool effect. But let's jump into number 5. There is a really cool lighting style called key kickers, where you use the same key light that we've been using, a single key light offset to add shadowing to the face, and then behind you, you have two very powerful edge lights. It's used a lot for beautiful lighting in music videos. For example, this video by Jason Chen is a very good example of them. But something you can do with lighting like this, where you have two different fill lights going on behind you, is use what's called color gels, which is basically colored transparent films to put in front of your lights to change the color of your lights. Often what you'll do is you put two completely different sides of the color spectrum on each side, so it still looks balanced when it hits you. You see a lot of content creators on YouTube or on Twitch using big RGB lights for their background, but rarely do you see them using color on themselves. I don't actually have any color gels, so I just used my light beams and only illuminated the top portion of them where, you know, the size of a light would be, so it's only lighting up the top sides of me. I feel like I should probably get some light gels. This would have been a little bit more dramatic, but it still looks really cool. But I guess the question is, which lighting did you like the best? Did you find a lighting style that you didn't know existed that you might want to try in your content from here on out? I'm super interested to hear. I'd love to see your thoughts. Please leave them in the comments down below. And if, again, you have any extra questions that maybe I didn't answer in this video or I missed, feel free to jump into my stream. Links to that down below. I spent a lot of time in just chatting. Let's hang out. And as always, happy streaming.